Right, we're unmuted, mate, and we are live. Okay. Hiya, mate. Are you okay?
Oh, I'm very well, Gath, and you?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks, mate. Not too bad.
Good, good.
So I thought it'd be a good idea to sort of live stream this out. We can, if there is anybody watching, we can take some questions around the sort of content we're going to do for our bits discussion. But just to frame this for anyone who's watching now, Andy and I are delivering a panel discussion at SQL Bits, and I can't remember the dates. And if I was more prepared, I'd have a link to show you, but I don't. But we've got a session on Friday at 12:30 in the not 12:30, 3:20 in the auditorium, where we're going to be talking about will AI replace us or raise us? And this session we've got a nice panel of people who we haven't revealed who's going to be on the panel yet, but we've got some good people lined up to come and share their views and opinions. And what Andy and I wanted to do is just put some structure around that discussion, make sure we talk about the right things. We don't want to give too much away in this session, but you'll get a fair idea of the outline of what we're going to talk about on the day. Now, I've got comments turned on, so we should see those come in as they come through. So if you have any comments, we should see them, and hit us up on LinkedIn or leave a YouTube comment or whatever. Should you have anything you want to say? And someone has just put the LinkedIn agenda on there. Was that you, mate? Was that you putting that on there?
That was me. It's not come up as a clickable link, unfortunately. I don't
No.
know whether that's something to do with the.
But there it is.
That links are posted. But
yeah, I've just popped it on the screen. That's from Andy there. All right, and can I copy it? Let's see if I can copy it. I don't think I can copy it. It doesn't matter if I put it in the chat because nobody can see it. We'll pop it on the comments of each of these afterwards. Anyway.
Yeah. So just saying what Gethin was talking about. So so SQL Bits is happening end of the month. So it's running, Wednesday the 22nd of April to Saturday the 25th. The free day is the 25th, and then the other days, are paid. So I think you just pay for a day or 2 days or 3 days. So we are on Friday afternoon. So we're actually on straight after the infamous Power Hour. So if anyone has been to a SQL Bits before, or at any conference where there's been a Power Hour, we're straight after it. So we're in the auditorium from 3:10 until 4:00.
So and yeah, a big clear out. A big clear out, then it'll be us. Yeah, and exactly. That's a Celtic manor, isn't it? Yeah, so
that's a Celtic manor. So we're back over in Wales, back over in your homeland.
Yeah. Well, I don't live in Wales now, but I will be. My mum and dad, the Celtic manor is quite nice. They got some nice restaurants in there, so I'm going to book us in to have some dinner at the Steak at 6, which is quite a nice restaurant, or the golf club, which is also quite nice. Whichever one I can get a seat in at this late stage. So they're going to come down, and it's a good chance to see a few people as well. Now, just before we went live, mate, but before we dive into this, I just wanted to. We were talking about training and talking about different bits of content, and you were talking about a course you'd done for. I'll let you talk about the details, but it's all DP700 training material that's available on LinkedIn. Not at all related to this, but it's a shameless plug for Andy's excellent video content. So go and check that out. I'll leave a link for that in the.
You know what? I'm all for a shameless plug. I'm really all for a shameless plug. Yeah. So this is the DP700, which is the Fabric Data Engineering Associate certification. So we've had DP600, which is the Fabric Analytics Engineer. This is now DP700, which is the concentrating on data engineering. So yes, you can buy it through the Microsoft Store or through Pearson VUE's store. But if you've got LinkedIn Learning or Premium with Learning, then it's on there at the moment. So I think, I think nearly 1,000 people have.
Oh wow!
Picked up the course. I'm currently on a 4.6 out of 5 rating, so I'm happy with that.
Yeah, that's excellent.
People seem to be getting some value from it. I mean, what essentially what the course is mapping each and every skill being measured in the exam to course material, right? So if we're talking about Spark settings in Fabric clusters, then I've got material that covers exactly where you go, what the settings are, so that you can go and be comfortable with that. You need to know about, slowly changing dimensions for
Yeah.
use in the fabric warehouse. We've got material specific for you to understand the different types of slowly changing dimensions, so that when you take, the exam and they're asking you, you know, if you want to track history over time, what STD type are you using? So yeah,
So,
that's
is it? I like to ask this question because it's related to DP 700. Yes, that's the right code. And
DP 700. Yes.
would you say it's a skills course, or is it an exam prep course, or is it a nice blend of both? Like, could you follow it if you didn't want to do the exam but learn some stuff?
I think you could follow it if you wanted to get an overview of what the exam might be. You see, now
Right.
here's an important point, and I'll be honest. I had a couple of different ways that I was thinking about structuring the course, right?
Mm.
Because if you go to the DP 700 certification page for Microsoft, right, you'll get a list of skills being measured.
Yeah.
Now, those skills being measured, they're not in an order grouped by technology, right? They're in an
Yeah.
order grouped by the process. So, for
Right.
example, the monitoring section has how to monitor a warehouse, how to monitor a lake house, how to monitor pipelines, right?
Yeah.
So, if you're not taking the exam, it doesn't really follow a kind of a real world arc, if you see what I
Yeah.
mean.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, for example, if I was doing the course again, and
Mm.
I wanted to make it real world, I'd take everything to do with pipelines
Yeah.
and I'd group that together. So, for
Yeah.
example, you'd have a module about pipelines, right? So, at the moment, if you want to learn everything there is to know about pipelines that's relevant to the exam, it's all in different modules.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
it's not really if you want to learn fabric from scratch, because it's not taking you through what I believe would be a useful exercise, a real
Yeah.
world, this is how you open up pipelines. This is how you create a pipeline. This is how you schedule it and debug it and monitor it. All of those bits, they're all there in my DP 700 course, but they're all in different sections, right? So
Right.
it's not really designed as a introduction to fabric or
Yeah.
introduction to this is how pipelines work, or
You
something
have
like
to know
that.
your way around before you get started. So you've got to.
Pretty
It's
much.
not a
Yeah, yeah,
fundamental course.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you
Understood.
could basically. I like to do these. I like to look through the skills being measured in any certification
Yeah.
to understand what, crucially, I don't know, right? Because any
Yes.
certification, right? There's what 50. There could be 50 skills being measured. The
Yeah.
chances are you're not going to be using every single one of those skills in your day-to-day job, right?
Yeah.
So you might not be really comfortable with 10 or 15 of those skills. So you can just go in, pinpoint exactly the skill that you're looking for. So, for example, fabric, if you've never touched real time analytics
Mm.
or real time intelligence, you might not know where to go to monitor it. You might not know where to go to change compute. So, this is the sort of thing where you go in, you look at the course, you go to the relevant module, and you see a specific lesson dedicated to that skill, right? So then you can go in, and gen yourself up. I mean, the other thing is, it's 5.5 hours long, but of course, that's if you play it at 1 times speed.
You
Every
suggesting?
everyone is free to flick it to 2 speed. Um, because it's an official Microsoft course as well, I am much more, considered in my delivery and approach. So some
Yeah.
people might like that, so they can make notes as they go along. Some people might think it's a little too slow for them, so they'll just speed it up a little bit. I've done that with many a course, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Me too. When I
It's
have to
all
watch a
yeah,
video.
it's all about the delivery, right? Someone might do a course that's 5 hours long and go quite slowly through the material.
Yeah.
Someone might make a course that is 3 hours long and they might whiz through it. So you might
Yeah.
have to slow it down or speed it up.
Exactly. both ways, both ways.
Exactly.
Cool. Well, I'm glad that's gone well for you, and go and check that out if you're looking to take some certifications and learn a little bit of fabric. Andy's course is good. I know how much time he has put into to putting that together. I was there to witness some of it
A
on
little too
TV
much.
calls. A little too much, yes.
I'm going to
So,
actually write a blog about the experience of creating the course. Um,
so I
and
know
I
the
am
effort
going
that's
to
gone
I'm going to
into that.
say this, and this might not be the case going forward, but and this is no word of a lie. I used AI to generate, I think, 3 slides. I mean, there's about 300 slides, right?
Yeah,
250 slides.
yeah.
I started, and I used AI to generate the material for 3 of the slides. And I spent more time editing it than if I just created the slides from scratch. So
Uh,
every single slide and all of the text and all of my demos and all of my, you know, videos and talk over, none of it is AI generated, which I kind
oh,
of
amazing.
find incredible. But that took the time, right? That was the
Yeah,
time.
that was the time. That was,
Because
and I know you. This is quite funny, but I know it took a while, and I know you changed your appearance physically during that time, and ended up having
yes,
to record different
I had
sections
to
as
I had to
well.
re-record. I mean, you're recording a 5-minute intro, a 5-minute outro, and of the course, and then you're recording 2 or 3 minutes intro to each module.
Yeah.
And between my first batch of recordings and then the second batch of recordings, my weight had changed, so I had to go back and
Re-record.
record everything, re-record everything again in front of the green screen.
That
So
made me
I think
giggle.
I know off heart all of that material.
That's amazing. Now, that's a nice segue into actually what we're here to discuss, all right? Because we
Mm,
have got our talk coming up at Sequel Bits. Will AI replace us? And the information you've just given there around what you've used, how much AI you used in preparing that course. Um, 3 slides out of 300, and there being a lot of work. Let's get rid of that. There being a lot of work for you in preparing the slides and preparing the script and what you wanted to say on each slide and understanding the flow and all that stuff
yeah,
is amazing. I, on the other hand, in preparation for today, put some slides together. And I used AI for all of it, right? As I thought that would be quite a good mix. Now, before I get into this, right,
perfect.
the topic of our discussion is: will AI replace us or will it raise us? Now,
Mm,
Victoria yesterday left a comment on the event, and I can't get the image up. But I also used AI to generate. I took our photos from our various different profiles and said, based off our abstract, can you create a suitable image for this LinkedIn event? And it went and created one, and it put me my photos black and white, and it puts me in color. And the color version of me looks awful. It looks absolutely nothing like me, I think. Right, but everyone seems to know it's me, so it must resonate with other people.
yeah,
Um, and then it took you, and it didn't seem to do anything to yours because yours was a full color photo, and it called you, it called your photo Gethin Ellis, and it called my photo Andy C, which made me laugh. Right, so
we're interchangeable, mate.
interchangeable. Um, but the interesting point with the AI thing, and I'll
Yeah,
ask you this because this was a the idea for this, we kind of I'm going to say we came about together. I think you had something happen to you
yes,
which made you question
yeah,
your business environment. I won't share
yeah,
that story. That's yours to tell. And you haven't got to do that today. We can share that for the panel discussion if you want. But if you want to say it, you can. But it was
yeah,
an interesting conversation. And he said, "Oh, that's actually a really good discussion point." And
yeah,
Johnny today's written a good blog on that as well, which I'll talk about later. But I'm
yeah.
just pass
Grayscale
it over to you.
analytics. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Really good blog
yeah,
on that. Yeah.
yeah.
So
So I just go on.
yeah.
Sorry.
So yeah. So essentially, well, it was a rant, right? It was a bit
Yeah.
of a rant in a in a group of our peers, right?
Mhm.
So it's various other people like us who are independent, consultants, contractors, trainers, maybe working with, bleeding edge technology, working with more established technology, process across the whole lot. So we're expected to know lots of other different processes, architecture, development practices, CI/CD, data modeling, governance, strategy. Yeah, so all of these different, and we'll get into this when we start talking about AI replacing. Right. So my 2025 from an independent consultancy perspective through my company Data High was quite challenging.
Right.
Now, as you know, Gethin, I mean, we've spoken about this many times. When you're independent, it's very useful to have different revenue streams.
Yeah.
Simply because you can't have one single point of failure, right?
Yeah.
If no training comes in and that's all you do, that's difficult.
Yeah.
If you're a contractor, but you've got gaps between your contracts, or contract finishes early or something, that's a challenge as well. My challenge was with the independent consultancy, right? So 2025 was pretty challenging. My market is traditionally small to medium-sized companies, right? So companies that don't tend to want to engage even medium-sized consultancies. Forget the large consultancies, right? With their overheads and their, shall we say, aggressive selling of services, right?
Well,
there is
just on that point there, Andy, right?
Yeah.
I would have made you aware of this as well. Sort of middle of last year, 2025, I lost an opportunity to one of the big four, because apparently they were competitive on price, or at least matched me. So their name took the work with. That's the level it's come down to. Now I think, well, we'll talk about that later, but it's just interesting that I also had a similar experience with those companies now operating in my space for whatever reason, and what's letting them to do that, if that makes sense. And this is probably a little bit of both here, because the company in question was actually growing and getting they've actually grown sort of exponentially over the years since I started working for them. So it might be they've outgrown me, perhaps more than me competing with them. But I do know that on price, it wasn't. They were competitive. I'm not saying they were cheaper than me, but they were competitive, and I think it carried clout then for.
Okay. Yeah. Fine.
Anyway, that's similar thing. Go on.
So your sort of typical small to medium sized organizations. I mean, we're still talking about organizations between 100 to 300 employees.
Yeah.
They still do need a certain level of expertise and maturity when working with data.
Yeah.
But they might not need all the bells and whistles, right? They might not need everything that maybe comes with working with a large consultancy, for example, right? So I can be very tailored. I can be very custom oriented towards these clients.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I was approached for a bit of work, and it would probably be several months worth of work, and it was a Fabric migration project, right? So it was a project to migrate some existing on-premises and some cloud-based services into the world of Microsoft Fabric. So we're not going to go into too much detail about the actual ins and outs of the project itself.
Yeah.
Project was in two parts, and they came to me to say, well, we do have our consultancy. They're not really specifically data consultancies, but there are consultants for all our business software and stuff like that. And they've put together a proposal. I don't know. Would you mind having a little look at it? I build them for the analysis, and then they came back and said, well, actually, do you think this is something you could do? And I was like, yep, that's in my wheelhouse perfectly. So I sort of worked. This was a Friday that I had a chat with them. They said, any chance you could get this to us by Monday, right? So of course that was my weekend out the window, because I was then working on a very tight schedule to get a proposal together. Now the proposal wasn't particularly detailed, but you have to give enough for them to understand, well, what
what
part
they're
of Fabric,
getting. Yes, yeah.
are you advocating to use, because there's cost implications around that. So I did that, sent it over, and within a couple of days they'd come back and said, really like it. Yeah, the CTO is really on board with this. It's great. It's you know it's much more sort of in line with our expectations. Plus, you've given some detail on which wasn't present in another consultancy's proposal. So would like to go with your proposal. I thought, brilliant. Okay, so that's me for the next 4 or 5 months on a direct to
Taken care
client
of.
project.
Yeah.
And it all went quiet for a week. Then, and they're very honest, but they came back and said, right, so things have changed a little bit, and to be honest with you, we're going to try and do it ourselves.
Right.
I was like, right, okay, no problem. I mean, these are the services that I can offer. If you want to do it yourself, I can offer some guidance, or no, they were like, no, we're gonna do this ourselves. So I just thought to myself, okay, well, I'll just take my proposal and I'll upload it to ChatGPT 5. So I uploaded it to ChatGPT 5 and pretended to be another company, and I pretended to say, and I said to ChatGPT, look, here's a proposal that I've got from a data consultancy. To be honest, I want to be able to do this myself internally. Can you give me a detailed breakdown of how I would implement this proposal? And you know what? ChatGPT did a pretty good job of going through exactly how you would do it internally. Now, yes, there was things like we need these skills and these skills, but basically and this is no fault. And what I'm not doing is I'm not putting any fault on that business.
No.
They did exactly what any of us would do, right?
Yeah.
Why would we pay a certain amount of money to this person for this expertise when really we can probably get most of what we need from AI based on a starting block? Now, okay, it might be a bit cheeky to take a proposal generated by a human and run it through AI, but
that's the world we live in now, right?
yeah, they can do it. I mean, they could. It's a
That's the world
proposal
we
that
live
I freely created and gave it to them, and they can do what they
in.
want to do with. Obviously, they can't just put it public.
Yeah.
So then that's my rant. That was the starting point where
And
I
that's
think
that triggered this off, because
and I said,
that
there you go. AI has essentially. I have got no sort of proof of this, but I believe that that's probably what happened, because I thought, well, hang on a minute, I'll take my proposal, I'll put it into just bog standard Chat GPT 5, and you know what? It generated a pretty decent proposal. And even if they were to take that information and just give it to their existing consultancy,
that's what I was just going to say.
they already have commercial terms with, and say, right, we're going to do it internally, but you're going to help us based on this.
Yeah.
So that was it. It was basically, does that mean that I have been replaced? That was my rant in our business group.
Yeah. Yes, I do. I remember. And I don't think it necessarily means you've been replaced. I think it just means that someone's taken your proposal, flushed it out, and gone to somebody else who might be able to deliver it if it's another supplier, as you say, with commercial terms. I don't think that's necessarily AI. What it might have been is, prior to AI, they'd have gone to them and gone, well, this is the proposal, and they're going to go, well, there's not enough detail here for us to know what we need to do, but you know what you need delivered, and Andy's delivering it for you, so use him. And they go, oh yeah, we can do that, or we can work it out, and we've got the skills to work it out. So perhaps it cost you in the end, but it is interesting times. Now, for our discussion, obviously we'll probably bring that up, and we've got 0 views on you, mate, so no one has seen it, so we can talk about that to our heart's content at Sequel Bits. Hopefully we'll have a few more. We do. Well, there we are. Sorry, I take it back, Andreas. You're not coming up as someone. I hadn't thought about it from the customer's point of view. From today, I'll start writing more general quotes. That's
yes, yeah. I'm going to say Andre.
Yeah.
Hopefully our pronunciation is correct, Andre. But yes, that is exactly what my discussion was. And there were, in our little business group was, there were people quite rightly
I
saying to
said
me,
to
well,
you,
how
I
much,
said
yeah,
you must have given too much information.
how much detail did you give them? And it's like, I went back through the proposal. I actually sent the proposal off to, another one of our peers, Mr. Johnny Winter over at Grayskull Analytics, to say, can you have a little look at this proposal? And obviously I scrubbed out the logo and anonymized everything, so he didn't know who it was for, GDPR and all that. But he didn't seem to think that there was, that much, Andrew. He didn't seem to think that there was that much in there, but you probably don't need that much in there as well, because yes, because of because of the requirements and the source systems that they were using,
Yeah.
then obviously it was Power BI and semantic models. There was going to be some pipelines to load in some data. There was going to be some notebooks to do transformation, and everything delivered by Lakehouse. So there was no warehouse, no need for real time. So there were some definite components that I'd put in there, right? So you're going to use pipelines to load your source data. You're going to use notebooks to do the transformation, and you're going to use Lakehouse for all your storage plus your delivery, right? So to be honest, and we're going to have workspaces for your production environment, a single capacity for your production, and a pay-as-you-go, very low capacity for your dev and test. And to be honest, because that's the level of detail that let's say the CTO kind of required.
Yeah.
But it's not enough for them on their own to just take that and go, well, let's redo what Andy does, because it's really just a 2-page proposal about the overall architecture. But of course,
imagine they did
that's
this, mate.
enough. That's enough for AI to go,
Yeah.
right, gonna grab that
And imagine they prompted it like this. I'm not for a second saying that they did this, all right? But imagine they said, you are Andy Cutler, SQL Server MVP, MCT, VP600 consultant, and you've just supplied us with this proposal. Can you write a detailed high-level plan around the implementation? All right? And then you get into the realms of, well, perhaps it is good. And I'm not for a second saying that's what happened, because I have no idea. But you can ask the AI you can ground it in any way you like, and frame your prompt in any which way, and you produce a lot of content and a lot of publicly available content for the good of everybody. Now, interesting question. I'll let you deal with this one, mate. Pop that on. This is from Andrew as well. Do you think customers view Microsoft Fabric as an extension of Power BI? I'm referring to the self-service BI context as Microsoft used to market it. Perhaps customers now think they can simply implement Fabric themselves.
Well, it is a really good question, and I mean,
I've got a take on it. I've got a take on it. If you want me to go first, mate, and then you can come in and answer afterwards, right? So my take on it is this, all right? Power BI ultimately is Fabric, and Fabric was born out of Power BI. Right? They needed and they had a really winning tool, and it was a complete end-to-end analytics solution, just about all on its own. But it didn't scale all that well into the big data realm, and Microsoft probably wanted to compete with the likes of Databricks and have the whole end-to-end and have that whole unified environment and own the whole platform is my kind of take on it. And in developing Fabric, they put Power BI in there because it had such a good uptake and such a good sort of what's the word I'm looking for? I'm going to say distribution across various different levels of organization. Everyone uses it, that it would just seem like the natural step. Oh, we now need to do some more enterprise grade data engineering, or we need something that can support larger models, and we need to go through that medallion process, and we want to do it in one place, and it would seem easy. So going back to Andrew's question, which I've forgotten, is from the BI context, do you think people can use it? I think that is a problem. People take Fabric and start using the components, and They've gone from that self-service environment in Power BI where people can create workspaces and other things, and you've only really got your semantic model and your reports to deal with. And now people are spinning up lake houses and data warehouses and chewing through your capacity because it's supporting all these other workloads. So
Yes.
I do think governance is an important point here. And do customers view Fabric as an extension of Power BI? From my experience, no. The people who I've come across who are using Fabric, they're like, yeah, we need Power BI, and because we've got Power BI and we used to have a P1 capacity, and now we need Fabric. We're not actually using it yet, but I guess we might now. We need to get a Fabric capacity. That's my experience, and yours may differ, mate.
So two parts. So there's two questions in that one. So number one, and this is just based on my experience from clients that I've been dealing with, is no, they don't view Fabric as an extension of Power BI. If anything, they've said, is Fabric going to replace Power BI? So they are trying to work out these two concepts, the Power BI concept that they know and they understand, and then the Fabric concept, because all the materials that Microsoft produce to market Fabric, Power BI has become a workload in Fabric, right?
Yeah.
And this is one of the bugbears of, let's say, the Power BI community. It's like all of a sudden it's just become Fabric, and Power BI is a workload within Fabric. So certainly people that I've worked for either through contracting or clients, they've definitely viewed Fabric as something separate.
Yeah.
That's come in. Then we follow into the second question: is can they implement it themselves? Well, if they have some, PySpark or some SQL development expertise within their organization, then yes, I think people look at it and go, yeah, we can work with this ourselves. Certainly every single person that I've spoken to, every client that I've worked with over the last, let's say, in anger, 18 months with Fabric, they've all started internally. They've all started with a little POC. And some of them have managed to work with it better than others. Others have gone in and sort of created some horrendous mess with Dataflow Gen 2. And going on to your point before, Gethin, yes, they've totally chewed up their capacity. That they're using 4 times their capacity because they're doing full loads through Dataflow Gen 2s, because they don't know that they can do this incremental load in pipelines or do it all through PySpark notebooks. So then it's, some organizations have probably muddled through and got what they needed out of it without engaging with anyone externally. But I think even sort of medium-sized, projects and deliverables, I think then they've started to reach out for expertise and some best practices.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
But can AI just recommend those best practices?
And that's the question we're going to talk about on the day. And I suggest it can probably give you a good idea where to start. It can help in your learning.
Yeah.
It can probably help you generate some code. How good that code will be, it can help you generate some code. I'll leave the statement at that, depending on the quality of the prompt that goes in. And you've got to know the right question to ask it, or the right request to send it for it to generate you the right thing.
Of course, we got the other thing is, with AI not just replacing us, but AI being used as a way of challenging as well. So we've got other people in our group, in our network, our peers that are, maybe, that are working for clients where the client themselves has then ran through the scenario and the requirements through AI, and then come back to the consultant to say, no, we don't like the way that you're going to do it and that you've said to do it, because ChatGPT has told us that this is the best architecture to use and this is the best design methodology. So we would like you to follow what AI is telling us in how to implement it.
Yeah.
So there's also that as well, where the consultants should be at ease with challenging what AI is saying, but
Yes.
provide justifications.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, we all use AI. Of course, we all use AI to get started on something or to ratify something, and then modify and critically analyze the output as well.
Mm.
So for AI to say, well, this is what you should do with authority, okay, fine, challenge it. Make sure that, because it probably, it could be giving you the right answer, but unless you have the knowledge to be able to
No, it's the right answer.
know it's the right answer, is another matter.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree with you completely there, mate. It's a very useful tool. It can be very useful. Is it going to replace us? That's still a question. Now, Andrew said, I'm going to pop what he said on here just so I can read it out. In my experience, some clients who have some background in data need architectural support at the outset, but will later try and implement it themselves using AI. Of course, they probably come back with problems at some point, but I'm noticing a trend towards the DIY approach, and that's probably fair, right? Because if
Yes.
you some of the examples I was talking about earlier on, the Big Four, for example, if just reading the publicly available press, their graduate intake is reduced, and they are there's not as many jobs for youngsters coming out of university anymore because their existing workforce are doing more with AI in
Yeah.
that space, right? But that's going to cause a problem, a bottleneck down the line, because then there'll be people who don't know if it's giving it the right answer, trying to work out if it's the right answer. And then I always get your name wrong, Iona. If I've said that wrong, I do apologize. But Iona says, with all the hyper focus on Fabric, I'll put that on the screen. Microsoft, here we go. Microsoft is majorly neglecting the Power BI community. That community is still there. It's unbelievably big and full of potential. Time for a Power BI con. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
It's
definitely.
Yeah. I mean, there were a lot of voices in the Power BI community saying, don't rub the Power BI community out. Don't just scrub out the word Power BI and replace it with Fabric. I mean, one of the things that happened is a lot of user groups renamed themselves Fabric seemingly overnight.
Overnight. Yeah, yeah,
They went from Power BI user groups to Fabric user groups, which is, it's going to depend on your audience, right?
yeah,
So for example, Power BI user groups are not always filled with technical professionals. They're,
yeah.
or data architects or data engineers. They're
They might be coming from the community of practice space in these
accounts,
organizations. Yeah,
finance,
exactly.
where they're building models. And they've got some expertise to to be able to build models and reports and things. Fabric is lots of other things:
Yeah.
data engineering, SQL development. That's not necessarily relevant to Power BI. But yeah, anyway, so I think that's sort of, that's yeah.
I agree with where you're going with that. There is just as an example, I've had a client call recently, where they're looking to move away from Power BI Pro licensing, and they go into Fabric, and they wanted some just general advice in that space. And I think, what do you mean you go into Fabric? Like, what are you taking? It's like, oh, we're going to get a capacity. I'm like, are you going to use any of the other workloads? You just can use Power BI, and this is a conversation that will be ongoing. But if they're not using workloads and they're still getting a Fabric, they've just got Power BI. Turn it off and don't use them if you don't need them, because it might impact on the actual size of capacity that you need. Cool. Okay,
Yes.
right. So thank you everyone for these comments. These are really good, and they'll definitely feed into our session here. I feel like we've talked a little bit about the data. What we talk. I want to loop back. I'm not. The sequence here is not right. Right. So I've got will I
Yeah.
replace us, and I've got the agenda, and there's definitely opportunities, and there's definitely an impact on the roles, and the roles evolving and staying relevant. Right. So I like the sequencing we've
Yes.
got here. Um, these slides might not be in the right order because AI did it. Right.
Yes.
And I
Plus,
fed in
this
the
is a kind of a this is for us to work out
out.
our
Yes.
panel structure as well before SQL bits.
Before SQL bits, right? But
Yeah.
from an opportunity perspective, as an independent consultant, and Andrew and Iona, feel free to jump in and leave some comments here.
Mm.
Where do you see the opportunity? Because there will be an opportunity.
Yeah, right. So, and again, this is from me. This isn't what
No,
I'm
no.
seeing out there. This
Yeah,
isn't what marketing is telling me it can be useful for. This is what I have been doing.
yeah,
Because, yes, AI is something that essentially any consultant, well, any data consultant. I mean, I can't speak for any other industries, but it is unavoidable. I think that's the first thing. It is unavoidable. It's just your strategy in how you are going to engage with it. Now, what I don't like is all the posts on LinkedIn where people are just bullish about it and say, you better get on board with it, otherwise you're going to be obsolete. That doesn't help. That doesn't help anyone. That just causes panic. And
Well,
that causes
it
resentment towards it as well.
it does. Can I
Yeah.
make keep your thought there,
Mate,
mate? And
go
I'm
in.
sorry to interrupt you.
No, no,
What I wanted to say there.
interrupt away.
When the LLMs first became a big thing, there was one guy in a utilities company, CEO, said, "Oh, I'll have the robots doing this for everybody in 5 years' time, and I can cut my workforce by 50,000." Right?
Yeah.
This is a few years ago now, not too far back, but far back enough. And I'm like, that makes you think, like, well, you're going to have all these people out of work, the amount of tax that these businesses are going to have to pay, because there's going to be so many people that are going to be needed to be looked after because they no longer have a job, that you have to decide, is it worth it in the first place if it's going to have that much of an impact? Now, that's perhaps not a discussion for you, but you're saying where people are being bullish about it, get on board,
Yeah.
getting people's
Yeah,
backs up.
to your point. So, you've got a workforce of 10,000,
Yeah.
right? So they are contributing to the economy. So
Yes.
customers pay for the goods and services. That money that they get paid for the goods and services go to pay the salaries. Those people, those 10,000 people then use their salaries to pay other companies, and it's all circular, right? So the
Yeah. Yeah.
money goes around, right? So then all that happened, so then yeah, the CEO comes along and says, right, well, I'm going to get rid of half my workforce because I can use AI to automate it. So then all of a sudden there are 5,000 people out of work, not receiving a salary, not, and
Mm.
possibly not contributing to the wider economic um, infrastructure. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's topic of conversation. The other thing is about this whole cutting of workforces. It's yes, it's some first looking at it. If companies are like, ooh, so we can like automate this, so we can basically take a human out of it that we're paying and replace it with an agent, or replace it with some AI infrastructure that does that job that person did, so we don't have to pay that person a salary anymore. Thing is, okay, you can look at it like that. I don't know whether that's a short-sighted way of a company looking at it as just as a total cost-cutting exercise. And again, this is just my own experience and my own thoughts on this, but I've never gone into a company where they've got all their stuff sorted,
Yeah.
where all their infrastructure is sorted, all their data is sorted. They've always got projects. They've always got people working on projects to do these things. So I'm thinking, well, why don't you just keep the same amount of people and use AI to do more in your business?
Yes. Yes.
Keep the 10,000 people and
Grow the
you know
business, right?
roll out AI. And I just use the term AI. It could be anything, right? But roll it out in a way to make those 10,000 more productive, because then your company will be able to do more. So that's what I look at it as, because we all work for clients, we all work for companies, and they're always operating slightly behind where they want to be in terms of their infrastructure and in terms of their data, right? So they're always like chasing a project. They're always chasing something, and projects get delayed, they get pushed back, they get prioritized. Well, there is an opportunity with AI for companies to get closer to where they want to be with their technical underpinnings of their business, right?
Yes.
Yeah, they could get rid of half their workforce, but then you've got the rest of that workforce using AI to just be able to keep up with what the
Where
10,000
they
are
were.
doing.
Yeah.
So where's the extra? Where's the benefit? Where's the benefit after that?
There's also the risk of sticking my neck out here. There's also a lot of politics that go on at that level, and sometimes AI is used as an excuse to cut numbers to improve the stock price. But that's just my little cynical mind
Yeah.
working in the background there.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Right. So opportunities. Okay. So number one, working for myself, there are lots of things that I automate. Right. There
Yep.
are which now I'm going to caveat this by saying that everything I do with AI, I ratify myself, because it is very easy. We can talk about dopamine hits, about instant gratification with AI, but you still have a responsibility to ratify what comes out before you start using it, right? And that includes plugging agents in as well. You've got to ratify and make sure there are the appropriate guardrails in place before you unleash these agents on your data and on your infrastructure, right? But for me, the things that I've been doing is just accelerating my work.
Yeah.
It hasn't replaced me in my work. It's just accelerated what I'm doing. And yes, I talk about designing, I talk about coding, I talk about governance, but based on prompts of custom things. So, for example, it could be, a certain type of work needs to be done with a certain type of governance.
Yeah.
I can generate a template in which I then edit it rather than having to create it from scratch. Right now, of course, I could have those templates already created before AI even started, but it just enables me to be a little bit nimbler. Yeah,
Yes.
to have access to this vast, body of knowledge. But then I ratify it, I pick through it. But the important thing is that I know how to ratify it. I know how to edit it. And if there's something in there that I'm not sure about, I'll go and look it up.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not about, reducing the amount of time that it takes for me to do something by 90%. It could reduce it by 20%. It could reduce it by 30%. So instead of a task taking me 6 hours, it could take me 3 hours or 4 hours. Now, someone might look at that and go, God, that doesn't sound like a lot of gain, but that's like 50, 40% of your time gained by using AI, but using it in a, in a way in which you're ratifying, right?
Yes.
So, people use AI to, generate blog posts, which, and I can spot it a mile off, and I just think, really?
Yeah.
Like, you still can generate a blog post using AI, but maybe edited it, right?
So when I use AI in my blog post, but I write down all my thoughts and notes, and I help it fix my typos, get the right structure, make sure I got the right headings for SEO, all that kind of stuff, and just it does pick up on my mistake on the mistakes I make, which is quite good. But it's always grounded in what I've written in the first place. That's me just going, yeah, I use it for that reason. I never go write me a blog post on understanding SQL Server execution plans, copy paste, because that you just end up with slop and
but people
crap.
do.
Yes, exactly.
People do. It's the the opportunity is there. So, you know, so yeah, just to recap on that. So a lot of automation of some of the mundane tasks that I would be, that I would be doing. Some, code generation. There's a lot, yes, I've vibe coded. Um, what I've done is my own sort of consultancy toolkit, right? That has been generated by AI, and then I've edited it and ratified it myself, right? So generalized architectural patterns, generalized development and data engineering patterns. To do that myself, it would take me quite a bit of time to do, right? With AI, yes, I can start the process of generating those tools, but then I'm editing it, right? I'm putting in my own context into that. And of
Yeah.
course, I'm ratifying the code. What I'm not doing is, let's say, for example, let's pick, I don't know, a language, Scala. I'm just going to pick it out of the air, Scala, right? So I'm more of a Python, PySpark person rather than Scala person. Now, I could do a whole framework and toolkit based on Scala and
Mm.
say, hey, you can pay me to implement Scala.
Yeah.
I would not be able to challenge AI in that language and that work because I just simply do not have the knowledge to
Yeah.
be able to pick out even the most obvious of mistakes that AI would generate. It could generate me some code and I go, great, that does a certain thing. Anyone who's knowledgeable with Scala could look at it and go, oh my word, what is that
What is
code?
going on
That
here?
code
Yeah.
is like running on one node and it's only doing one row by row. It's awful code, right? I wouldn't know that. PySpark, on the other hand, yes. So I can generate some templates. Let's say some medallion architecture loading patterns based on some requirements, and I can ratify the code. I can challenge and say, is that the best way to add new columns? Is that the best way to do that transformation? I don't have to write the code myself, but I know that I can ratify it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that kind of goes from the opportunity into things like the reality check. I think.
Yeah.
But
I've got
yeah,
reality check on here somewhere. Have I?
we might sort of jump around a bit, but
Yeah, we are going to jump around a bit.
yeah,
Staying relevant, we've got, and then we've got Q at the end. We won't be doing that today. And I haven't got a reality check
yeah.
slide, but I need one. So we're missing
Yeah,
one of
so
those.
it does feed in. So the reality check feeding in from that is things like understanding the output and being confident. Well, sorry, they're two very different things. Understanding the output and being able to challenge, edit, ratify to make sure that it is indeed worthy of an organization putting whatever is output from AI into production. It could be a design, it could be a bit of code. So yes, I mean that's still the challenges. I mean, companies can't just use AI to completely replace skill sets without any form of ratification,
Yeah,
because how do they know what they're going to put in place is actually going to work
work.
correctly? Now, the quality of LLMs and their subject matter expertise is growing, you know, growing so much. So maybe at some stage you won't even need to ratify. I don't know at this stage.
That's interesting. But I think that feels like the lack of ratification might not be. I don't know. I don't know myself either. In truth,
Yeah.
um, we've touched a little bit on the impact of roles and careers. I've definitely seen entry level jobs evaporating in the current climate. Right, and I
Mm,
can't see that last personally, I don't see that lasting forever because I still feel, you mentioned the need to understand the output still. You need to know what it's telling you is correct and accurate, and you can only do that if you know stuff.
mm,
So as like people retire and people move out of the workforce, those roles. Johnny wrote a good post this morning. I don't have it in front of me, unfortunately, but talking about the role of the data professional in the world of AI, and are you drinking the Kool-Aid? Because there's lots of get on boardy type posts or be obsolete type posts that get people's backs up, and the Kool-Aid thing is definitely there.
Yeah.
And Johnny's point was, I think it might, paraphrasing because I've only read it once as well, but it might change the way you work, but they will likely work in harmony for a very long time, because there's a need. What you do might change, and those skills will still be needed. So I think,
Yeah.
as it always has been the case, like I look at my career when I started straight out of university. There were two main jobs in data: you were a developer or you were a DBA. Right. Then SQL 2005 came along, and there was a big BI stack. So you could be a BI developer, or a DBA. And then we've ended up with data architecture, data architects, data engineers, data scientists, DBAs still, Power BI developers, BI developers. The list is there's plenty of lists out there: data analysts, business analysts, and so on. So they've evolved over the last 25 years, and I still see them evolving. Some people, I've read some stuff from people in the Microsoft data community that are advising people not to go into careers in this space currently. And now I don't have a strong view on that either way, if I'm honest. But it's an interesting take that I've seen people discuss. Whereas 10 years ago, I'd say it's a great career, and I've loved every minute of it, and I still do. Even with I still love it. But what would I advise my son now? I might still be tempted to advise him to do it, because I still think there's plenty of opportunity. But I do know people out there are giving advice contrary to that. What do you think, mate? What's your thoughts on it?
So there's a short story by Isaac Asimov, right? So the old science fiction author. And it's a short story about so it's all, Isaac Asimov, it's all set in, a specific world of technology and where humans are at. And within this short story, basically, when you get to a certain age, you go to a center and you're scanned and you're told what your profession is, and then you get all the knowledge imprinted into your brain, right? And then off you go. You just go and do that job, right? So
Yeah.
some people are this, some people are that, some people are the other. So there's no requirement for anyone to learn anything, right? So because your destiny is already preordained, right? You're just going to turn up at this thing, and you're going to be told you're going to do this profession, and then you just get imprinted with the knowledge, and off you go. Anyway, this lad turns up, and during the process, there's lots of muttering by the people working the machines, and then all of a sudden, some shadowy figures appear and lead the lad off, and all his friends are like, where's he going? And he basically just gets taken away, never to be kind of seen of again. As it turns out, he's been taken to an institute because he is one of the brain types in which you can't just imprint this knowledge really quickly. And in fact, his brain is elevated beyond that.
Right.
So the end of the short story is really when he asks, why can't I just have a normal life? Why can't I just have this normal job? And they say, well, how do you think any of this stuff gets created? How do you think any of these systems get developed? How do you think any of this stuff is thought through? It's your manual learning that does all this and has elevated you far beyond. So this whole thing about, is it worth going into this position or this position or this position? I mean, people are already saying that any professional services, legal, for example, or accountancy or finance, is all going to be replaced by AI, because all of the knowledge is there to do the work for you. But we're still not replacing the human brain. We're still not replacing the reasoning. We're still not replacing the empathy. We're still not replacing the things that can inject in and around the hard facts and the
Yeah.
source material, right? So I go back, well, 10, 15, 20 years ago. So how did I learn the things that I need to do for my career? Well, I read books,
Mm.
okay? And then increasingly, we started to get, training materials and courses and things like that. Now people are using AI to learn. And
Yeah.
some people think, well, that's a good thing. I mean, yes, I can use AI to ratify some things and to learn. Sometimes, I mean, I put together my own sort of hands-on labs that match skills being measured in certifications, right?
Yeah.
So it's like create me a lab in which I'm going to use all the skills being measured so that I can learn as I'm doing. Right now, I'm using AI to create that, and then I can then learn myself. Right. Um, Now, all this source material, books, courses, and things like that. How do we know that those books and courses back in the day were good?
Yeah.
I did read some not very good technical books,
Yeah.
right? So just as people are saying, well, AI can do people's work, and well, people are still going to need to learn certain aspects of that work.
Yeah.
It may change, but yeah, will you have to know SQL really, really deeply in order to be able to code with SQL in a job when AI can do it for you? It's a bit chicken and the egg.
Yeah.
So you might know a little bit of SQL and then just go all in on AI to generate the SQL for you. But how on earth are you going to know if it's good SQL or not?
Yeah.
It's the same. It's the same with Python. It's the same with PySpark. Is it generating the best practice SQL that isn't going to bring clusters and servers to a grinding halt? So I get what people are saying is that, well, why would you learn all this stuff if AI is going to replace you? And I think you're going to have to learn the stuff to then be able to work with AI,
Oh,
to
yeah.
know that AI. So if it's going to take you 2 years to have a really deep understanding of SQL or a really deep understanding of PySpark, well, that's 2 years well spent, because then you're going to be able to go in and use AI
Mm.
to be even more productive. Like the
Yeah.
person who knows nothing about SQL and then just starts generating SQL, they're just going to kind of plateau in their knowledge.
Well, they are if
They're
they
not
don't
gonna-
if
they're
they
not
don't
going to learn
validate the
anymore.
output, if they don't validate the output, they're definitely not going to learn anymore. But if they use the output and you can't help it, if you're reading it and going, okay, well, that's that, and then I'm going to run this bit of code, and okay, that's created that for me, you're going to learn. And as long as you keep learning on that, it might help you learn faster. It might give you more exposure to certain things that might have taken you and me back in the day a lot longer to get that experience. So it might
Yes.
accelerate. It might even accelerate that sort of knowledge gain. So I do tend to agree with you.
Well, so
So,
here's
mate,
here's
go on.
so very quickly. Here's a case in point of how these two worlds are coming together with some official Microsoft um, certification, right? So just as a little bit of an example, right? So Microsoft have got a new exam out, DP 800, which is developing database solutions with integrated AI, something like that, right? Whereby it's giving you an understanding of the structure of a database, okay? Data types, modeling practices, also how to implement AI into these database solutions as well. So MCP servers, agents. So it's like, what it's saying is you still need to know all of the patterns. You still need to know how to develop with this technology, but also here is the AI component that's integrated in with it as well. right? So maybe someone that's coming out of university and looking to get themselves into a data job, right? They could actually look at that certification and say, oh, okay, so there is some non-AI in there, and
Yeah.
then there's AI as well, right?
Yeah.
So then any organizations who are looking to implement, databases and database solutions, and they want to use AI and they want AI integration, it's here. It's not completely replacing. It's not going one way or the other. So I did just find that interesting.
Yeah. I think it'll settle on to. I'm kind of with you. I don't know if "settle's" the right word, but I think there's a balance there. Definitely a balance between the two. And it's always been branded as an assistant, not a replacement. Right? It's called Copilot in Microsoft world for a reason, because it's not in
Yeah.
charge. It's just there to help. And if it stays like that, then it might be lots of opportunities. There will be lots of opportunities, I suspect, for people to learn and grow and be successful. Right. For everyone who's listening on the live stream, we've gone over a little bit. We're going to database. Mark Ribbler says, "Ha, databases are real." Okay, guys. Look, we're going to end the stream here. Thank you for everyone who has tuned in. Andy, just stay on a second, mate, and we'll just wrap up this last bit so we get it right for bits. But thank you, everyone, for your comments and your questions and everything else that's come through. It's been brilliant. Thanks very much. And I'll, if you're at Bits, come and see the discussion. It'll be really good. We got some a really good panel lined up for you. So do come along. It is on, just a reminder of the date. It is Friday, the 24th of April at 3:20 in the auditorium. If you go into the power hour, just stay in your seats and watch me and Andy set up a laptop and some chairs at the front. All right, brilliant. Thanks, everyone. See you all soon.
Bye-bye.